Hey guys, kinggath here with another patch for Sim Settlements. This is patch 4.2.3, which I'm calling the Final Revolution. And that is because we're taking what I think might be our last trip back to the Industrial Revolution content. And I've made a few tweaks to make it a little more accessible, because I know a lot of people skipped it because it's just too complicated. Others of you probably skipped it because you don't have any file size available on Xbox. But the other thing that we did with this patch is we finally finished the Computer Research Assistant quest. So for those of you guys who are big Industrial Revolution fans, you've been wondering why that quest has been sitting dormant in your log for almost 2 years now. And we finally resolved that with a big, giant finale that I'm really excited for you guys to share. Now, before we get into that, I want to put some shout outs to our new patrons. So thank you and welcome Jeffrey Hope, the Bisbee Boy, Jacob Thomas, Dan, Tim Thiessen, and Smogmaster512. Welcome to the Sim Settlements family. Thank you guys and gals for helping out with this project. We really appreciate your donations, and I hope you guys are enjoying all this content. And we've got a lot of it here. So as I mentioned, we've got a finale to the Computer Research Assistant quest. We've got some changes to the core of how IR works. Not in anything that's going to transform the experience negatively for those of you guys who enjoy it. You'll just have to make a little tweak to get it back to normal. So by default in Industrial Revolution, when it launched, advanced industrial plots were very, very challenging to upgrade. They required generally a lot of hands-on effort. We use this system called the Stockpile system. Now, before I get into that, I just want to show you guys, just for posterity, so you know what I'm talking about before you guys just skip it over. But I've basically disabled this complicated system by default. So I'll show you who love that system where to turn it back on. But for everybody else, just know what I'm about to show you is what I'm eliminating so that you guys can upgrade these advanced industrial plots almost as easily as you do any other plot. So basically, it's just going to make Industrial Revolution content accessible to more people, and I think that that's going to be a good thing overall. So for those of you guys who loved the Stockpile system, you like that hands-on, you like feeling like you're contributing to the system, you can re-enable that under Sim Settlements. Oops, here we go. Where is it at? Sim Settlements Advanced Stockpile System. So now it is disabled by default. So for those of you guys who like it, you can go turn it back on. For everybody else, I just want to show you what it was in case you're curious and maybe you enjoy the idea. But just like with Rise of the Commonwealth, how you can donate resources to a city plan, with the Industrial Revolution, you could donate resources directly to a plot via the Stockpile. So you would open it up and you'd see all these resources in here, and these were the types of resources that that particular building plan was hungry for. And as long as you piled on lots of those resources, it would speed up the upgrade time. And it would make it so that they could upgrade close to the same speed as a normal plot. Otherwise, they would take 2 to 4 times longer to upgrade. So they were a very, very investment-heavy plot. Now, they would generate those resources in the stockpile on their own over time. But there were 2 reasons that it wouldn't. One is if you never visited your settlements ever, then that would almost never happen. The stockpile would never fill up, and that was one of the issues that people who didn't play hands-on were running into. And then the other issue would be if for some reason you just didn't have enough of that plot type. So for example, if you had just one excavation pit, it would feel like the stockpile was never actually growing, but it was just at a trickle, and it was just far too slow for most folks. So it required a lot of hand donating of materials, and I just felt like that was not fun for the average person. So we turned that off by default. So now everybody who hasn't had a chance to experience all of the quests and content in Industrial Revolution, you now have a chance to do so. Now, it still takes quite a while, and it's still a little bit hands-on to get access to all of the different unlocks, because you do need to have certain buildings to get access to other buildings. So the manual upgrades for these are still on. But I do want to show you guys who haven't played through Industrial Revolution how you can make that a little easier on yourselves. So if you go into your City Manager holotape and you go under Tools and then the tracking options, you can track the plots awaiting upgrades. And by default, advanced industrial plots will not upgrade themselves. Instead, they'll wait for you to come by and go to the sensor and choose Manage Upgrades. And when you do that, there's an upgrade building option, and then you'll get an option for what to upgrade it to. Because the way advanced industrial plots work is that at each level, they have multiple ways they can upgrade. So they have like an upgrade pathing system, and it works out to that most of the advanced industrial stuff from Industrial Revolution have 7 potential buildings each of the level 1s can spawn into over time. And with this particular one, the excavation excavation pit, it actually has a third path, and so there are 10 different buildings that this can evolve into. So it's a very complicated system, but once you just make it your goal to just try and get one of each, it simplifies the system a lot more. And with this change to the stockpile system, it makes it a lot faster to get access to these. So if you guys want to try out the new quest, so for those of you guys maybe who you played through Industrial Revolution long ago and you don't have the patience to go through the whole thing, but you want to check out the new finale quest, well, fortunately, it does not require any tech unlocks. So this particular plot that it's handled in is a straight shot off of the excavation pit. And unlike a lot of the other lab quests, this one doesn't have any special components that require the other types, because I knew that a lot of you guys were going to come back, want to play through this and not have to go back through the whole advanced industrial tech tree, which would take you forever. So you guys will be able to experience it still without having to play through everything again. So to get access to this, you'll build yourself an excavation pit. Then when it's eligible to upgrade, you'll turn it into a ceramics kiln. And then when that's eligible to upgrade, you'll turn that ceramics kiln into a circuitry lab. And the circuitry lab has this final quest. So you just play with things inside of anything that looks like a lab in Industrial Revolution, if you guys haven't done these yet. If you start playing around with things, you just start activating things that are activatable inside the plot. Eventually, you'll trigger something that will start a quest, and it's a research assistant quest. I think there are 6 of them total in the mod, and then there's a 7th one, which is 5 or 6. I know there's 5 to 7. I don't remember how many, but they're pretty lengthy quests each. They're based on my personal love for adventure games, so they're a little more challenging than the average Fallout 4 quest. But if you find that type of gameplay is not fun, you don't enjoy puzzle solving, all of these have long been solved on the forum, so you can dig up that information if you need help for getting through some of these quests. Now, obviously, this new computer research one, most of it hasn't been solved because we're introducing it just with this patch, but I assure you we have some super sleuths in the Sim Settlements community who will solve it probably in a day, and they'll post the solutions up on the forum. So for those of you guys who are going to ask that, you just don't be shy about posting spoilers. I don't care anymore. I'm long past worried about that for Industrial Revolution content. Now, obviously, when we release our next expansion, I will ask that you guys don't do that right away, but for Industrial Revolution stuff, it's been out. Go ahead and help people out with getting access to this content as quickly as possible. All right, so beyond Industrial Revolution getting this this final farewell quest to send off its content, the other big thing that I've changed in here is to fix some pretty nasty bugs, and one in particular would have really affected you guys who use the Conqueror pre-build system. So I found an issue that could cause thousands of plot scripts to get backed up in the queue in your active scripts, and that could be disastrous for some of you, so probably the cause of crashing for some of you. Well, I've resolved this. I've tested it on a save that already had that problem, and it very quickly resolved things in that save file. So I'm hopeful that this will actually rescue some saves for some of you guys. And in addition, any of you who plan on starting new characters with the pre-build system, you should find it running a lot smoother. Now, while investigating that, I discovered another little bug. Now, this one's a little bit more insidious, but will cause similar issues. Now, it's not going to cause crashing. It will just cause plots to get stuck. And so I have a game plan for how to tackle that, but it could take me a couple of patches to sort out because it's going to require some pretty deep level recoding of some settlements, and I have to limit the amount of time I spend doing that, or I'm going to break way more things than I fix. So I try to leave the core systems alone as much as possible so that I don't introduce just a cascade domino effect of bugs. So it'll be a little while before I can resolve this, but just know that I have found the sources of a lot of the issues with plots in the pre-builds and why sometimes you show up at those pre-builds and they seem like a mess. So I've got a lot of that resolved. Now, one of the other things you guys might see with pre-builds that's a mess is if you're using the new war options, because by default faction decorations are enabled, and faction decorations, if you don't have a decent CPU, can cause a lot of issues with floating items. And so you can resolve that by going into, it's under, I think it's under Conqueror actually. Let me see here. That's why I'm in the wrong section. So let's go down to Conqueror here. Decorations, faction decorating. You might want to turn that off if you're finding that there's just tons of floating items and settlements that are claimed by different factions. That could be the cause of that. But anyway, the whole point was I'm making some massive improvements to the Sim Settlements backend code, and you're going to get the first taste of that in this patch with more to come in the future. All right, and now it is time for our I was going to say weekly, but it's Patchly, I guess. Patchly giveaway of a t-shirt. So if you're interested in getting a Sim Settlements t-shirt, post a comment below and include the hashtag Rip Stockpile, RIP Stockpile. We will miss you, for those of you guys who don't get to experience that. Rip Stockpile, put that as a hashtag in your comment. Do not just make that your comment. If that is just your comment, if your whole comment is just Rip Stockpile, I'm going to ignore it. But put something in there. Comment about the mod. Comment, tell me about a good time you've had with it. Compliment something you like in the mod so that people on my team can get a little bit of boost of inspiration. Tell me about a bug you've run into. Tell me about a suggestion you want to see. Just make it interesting. Make it funny. Put something along with your hashtag. And on Monday, I will randomly draw one of those comments, and I will contact that person by responding to their comment and getting them what they need to pick up a free t-shirt for Sim Settlements. All right, guys, I'm really excited for you to check out this patch. Let me know what you think of the new quest once you get a try. And if you run into any issues, because I'm about to go on vacation, definitely post them. I've got, in the next 10 days, if you guys find anything horrendously broken that's going to be a disaster for Sim Settlements until next patch, I will hotfix it, because likely we will have an extra week between patches, which means there'll be a month between this patch and the next, and I don't want to leave you guys a month high and dry with something super broken. So if you find anything horribly broken in Sim Settlements in the 4.2.3 patch, please, please, please report it immediately on simsettlements.com. All right, guys, take care and enjoy the mods.